Well, after this election mess in Florida, people all across the nation are asking what's wrong with the state and why does Florida not learn from its mistakes? Well, to understand how Florida can struggle so much with counting votes this week, you need to see how and why Florida has struggled with this same problem for years.
This has got to feel like deja vu all over again.
I have the shakes.
Looking back, you'll find a history that includes 6-hour lines, rigged election maps, glitchy machines, missing ballot boxes, hanging chads, piles of lawsuits, and butterfly ballots that trick Democrats into voting for Pat Buchanan. To take things in order, in 2000, we voted back then by stabbing cards, which of course can make it kind of hard to tell a vote from a random dimple in a card. And good grief, look at the ballot in Palm Beach County back then. It's hard to tell who you were even voting for. And that was the system that decided a race for president of the United States by 537 votes.
Where we become the laughingstock of the nation.
Well, to fix that mess, 15 of the largest counties in Florida switched to touchscreen computers. But they bought a lot of them from Venezuelans with possible ties to Hugo Chavez. And we found out convicted felons were allowed to work on them. And then back then, the Tallahassee election chief found a way to rig them. And watchdogs started finding glitches all across the state. In 2006, many voters, for example, in Sarasota County, claimed the machines would either switch their votes or ignore their votes when they kept pressing the buttons.
I voted again, saw it, really saw it, continued through, went back and reviewed. A second time, it was missing.
Therefore, I voted again, and as I said before, I was very naive, and I still feel that I've been duped.
So I don't really know whether the second time it worked.
That gave us rolling calamity number 2, which gave rise to a new unofficial slogan for voting in Florida.
That is the sticker, and it no longer says, "I voted today." It says, "I voted, I think."
So then the state replaced the touchscreens that replaced the punch cards with these optical scan ballots. But remember how Palm Beach County worked up that ballot in 2000 that unwittingly tricked Democrats into voting for Pat Buchanan? This year they upped the ante by working on machines that don't necessarily work. Turns out when you run too many ballots through them, they overheat and spit out erroneous numbers. In other words, Palm Beach County counts votes like a Monty Python routine.
1, 2, 5. Freeze up. 3.
Which of course brings us now to rolling calamity number 3.
You know, the fact of the matter is that when mechanicals fail, there's not a lot I can do about it.
At this point now, you may be wondering how state lawmakers can let the process of voting be so difficult. Well, there are 2 answers to that.
Why would we make it any easier?
First, let's take a look at what lawmakers have said about making voting more convenient for us voters.
This is a hard-fought privilege. This is something people died for. And you want to make it convenient?
That's former lawmaker Mike Bennett literally saying that voting should not be easy.
This should not be easy.
Bennett went on to become Manatee County's supervisor of elections.
Why would we make it any easier?
But I digress.
You hear some talk here about early voting as if it's in the Constitution.
Yeah, that was former Senator Miguel Diaz-del Portillo, who once sponsored a bill to make it harder to register to vote and cut back on early voting days, which then produced these 7-hour lines on Election Day in 2012, when Florida also lagged the nation in counting votes. And after the senator bragged about tightening the rules to prevent anyone from maybe gaming the system.
And there's an opportunity under the current law for people to game the system.
We caught him voting and then voting again in the name of another lawmaker who was gone for his mother's funeral. Said he did not give anyone permission to vote in his name.
From the outside looking in, it can look very bad.
Now that's the other thing. The lawmakers pass laws on stuff like voting by voting and voting again in the names of other lawmakers who are away from their desks. They're supposed to get permission from the missing lawmakers, but we've seen how in too many cases they don't even do that.
Yes, this happens a lot.
Former lawmaker Mike Fasano said he saw it over and over again firsthand.
More than 100 times, I would imagine.
Votes without permission.
Yes, I in fact saw a non-member hit someone's button. And I thought, oh my gosh, has it gotten that bad?
We also caught Senator Kelly Stargel voting for the Senate Majority Leader a few years back. She made it look as if the Majority Leader was there voting on the budget when she was actually at a barbecue on the other side of the state.
I can understand how they may say that it looks sloppy.
Altogether, that could be rolling calamity number 4. My point is, if that's how lawmakers approach voting in their own chamber, do you really think they can put an end to the sloppiness we see all across the state? Besides, the second answer to why the state can't get this fixed is that the state gives the responsibility of managing elections to 67 different counties with varying degrees of competence and trust. And that's how you get Brenda Snipes in Broward County, who could not say how many votes she still had to count days after the election. It's how you get the supervisor in Bay County allowing votes by fax or email, despite a law banning votes by fax or email. And it's how you get Monty Python counting machines in Palm Beach County and piles of lawsuits, and yet another black eye for Florida. Maybe after this, Florida could re-examine its approach to voting yet again to hopefully prevent rolling calamity number 5.